Hello and welcome to the Glenn Conference on Women's Centers, Best Practices and Successful Strategies through the Pandemic. My name is Megan Reichert. I'm Director of Innovation for Mercy Health, and I'd like to welcome you to this session. It is presented by the Great Lakes International Innovation Network in partnership with Bon Secours Mercy Health and the Ohio Third Frontier, but we also have a wonderful team of volunteers from across the Midwest that have helped us with planning. So as we all know, COVID has amended how we do in-person meetings. And so since we've had to postpone our in-person summit until the fall of 2021, we are doing a series of webinars, and today's is the second webinar in our series. At the conclusion of today's meeting, we'll talk to you about upcoming webinars that we will be doing and provide you the dates for our October in-person summit that will take place in Toledo, Ohio. During today's presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A panel and we'll address them during the presentation. I'd like to introduce you to today's speakers, Karl LaPan and Leslee Hill. Karl received his undergraduate in business management from Franklin Pierce College, New Hampshire, and he graduated summa cum laude. Upon completing his academic degree, he joined General Electric, and in 1998, he graduated from their prestigious financial management program. Karl holds an MS in Human Resource Development from the American University in Washington, D.C., and he's a graduate of the Mahler Program for Executives. Leslee Hill is the director of the WEOC Women's Business Center. She previously owned and operated a consulting company as well as a tech startup. She's worked in product development and design, forecasting and sales for companies such as Spiegel Catalog, Icelandic Design, and Vera Bradley. Leslee holds a Bachelor of Science degree from BSU in fashion merchandising and apparel design with a minor in marketing. And now I will turn this meeting over to Karl. And again, please feel free to put questions and answers in the box. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. And it's great to be with everybody today. It's always easy to talk about our Women's Business Center because Leslee and the team does such a great job of creating a lot of entrepreneurial energy and a lot of innovation around how we deliver and serve women entrepreneurs. So I want to just take the first 10 minutes and kind of talk about the business case for why a Women's Business Center, and then turn it over to Leslee to kind of fill in all the holes that I may leave along the way. So, you know, our strategy is really three-pronged. So we are focused on people living more connected and fulfilled lives through economic prosperity. We're focused on some of the traditional placemaking programs, and our women's initiatives falls really within our access and on-ramp. So creating more points of differentiation in the services we offer, being able to give people opportunities to really live a more fulfilled life through economic ownership. And so this really resides within that area. You know, lots of stories I could tell. You can see 5 of them here, but each very different in their approach. Some building, you know, more traditional businesses, some building tech businesses. But I think the constant theme is really our focus on business and self-confidence for women business owners to help them build whatever dream and possibility that they have in mind, and to really support them wherever we find them as well. And so I think that's a key thing, is that you know, as Tom O'Neill taught me at the University of Central Florida, if you've met one entrepreneur, you've met one entrepreneur. So while we might generalize them all as women business owners, they are all very different in terms of stage, type of business, their motivation, or the Simon Sinek why, or even their ambition and desire around what size of business they want to grow and develop. You know, I'm just going to focus on the left-hand side for a second and say 85% of all business in the United States are less than 20 people. over half of them are less than 5 people. This is true in most all communities across the country. In our community, 85 is 89%. And so, these businesses are really important because they are the economic foundation of most all communities in the United States. Why women business programs? There are really kind of 3 motivations: flexibility, necessity, and opportunity. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. What I would say on this busy chart on the left-hand side is that women businesses, in terms of the overall growth of firms, started 2.3 times as many women businesses as all firms. And when you look at women of color, they're starting businesses at twice the rate of women businesses and nearly 5 times the level of businesses of establishments in general. But what we know is that when we look at the revenue profile of minority women versus non-minority women, there's a big discrepancy in the revenue profile, in the number of employees of the firm. And we're going to talk about that in terms of why we've created some of the programs we've created. In the upper right, if you look at it, 42% of all businesses are owned by women, but it only equates to 8% of the workforce. And so, consider the +1, that one of the goals that we have in creating and supporting women businesses is if we can get them that second employee, right? That's a significant growth in the company, because in fact, 89% of all women businesses never grow beyond the founder. And so a lot of the work we do is to try to get them to +1 so that their motivation isn't necessity, but really opportunity and flexibility. And you can kind of see in the lower quadrant in terms of women-owned businesses, and you can see the growth rate of African American, Latino, Native American, Asian American. You can kind of see those growth rates of those companies and what's happening with them. When you think about entrepreneurial motivation, and the theory is really people start businesses for one of 2 reasons: opportunity or necessity. Opportunity is you see something, you want to make the world better, and you think a lot of people want what you have imagined. And then necessity, I'm forced there because I've been downsized, I'm trying to come back into the workforce. One of the big differences you see is in terms of female and male differences. The opportunity recognition: less women start businesses because they want to build great wealth. They're starting businesses for other reasons. And then if you look on the right-hand side, more women have had to really focus on necessity, earning a living, versus their male counterparts. And what we know from the kind of entrepreneurship theory is that opportunity businesses tend to create, greater job creation, greater job employment, greater revenue. And so part of what we have to do, and a lot of the work that Leslee does every day, is helping these businesses reimagine what business they're in and what they want to do in order to kind of break this cycle. Our program focus is really 4-fold. It's all about business and personal self-confidence. It's overcoming the access barriers to money, markets, management, and mentors. And so those are the 4 fundamental barriers that women and minority entrepreneurs face. Our programs are all designed to address, confront any one of those barriers or obstacles in order to increase and improve kind of business self-confidence and organizational and personal self-confidence as well. One of the things we did in the pandemic is we became one of the 28 US hubs in Kiva. And when you look at Kiva programs focusing on crowdfunding of the micro lending component of what many businesses need, one of the things we know about women entrepreneurs is they're less likely to go out and raise substantial amounts of capital. They're less likely to substantially obligate themselves through higher levels of debt. One of the programs that we think a lot of is Kiva, because Kiva has been able to underwrite entrepreneurs regardless of credit score, time in business. And as you can see on the Kiva metrics, if you look at all of the hubs across the United States, 35% or a third of all the borrowers are less than 600 credit score, and 64% of the borrowers are female. And then you look at our experience in the first 6 months of our program, 100% of the people funded through our Kiva Hub program are women, and 75% have credit scores of less than 600. And so we're able to underwrite them through crowdfunding, social capital connections, and be able to fund them in 15 days, up to $15,000 per company. And so this has been a really exciting addition to what we do at the NIIC. And we do that in partnership with the city of Fort Wayne and with our entrepreneurial district to really try to make this access to capital easier for especially women entrepreneurs. Kind of the four things that I've learned in this program since we started our Women's Business Center 6 years ago. Number one is reaching the target market and building the referral network. I always thought we were open to all people and we supported anyone that was interested and motivated to start a company. And one of the things I've realized through Leslie's program serving over 2,800 women entrepreneurs is we serve them, but we must not have been serving them as well with the kinds of programs they needed, because we serve astronomically more people today than we did before this program started. So number one is, we went from maybe serving in the tens of women entrepreneurs to serving 500 a year. And it's because of people like Leslie that make an incredible difference in providing the support, the business support, the self-care support, everything we have to do to help these businesses. Secondly is engagement and onboarding process, right? Women need different resources and services, and it is different how they consume those services and how they support one another in the delivery of those services. And so Leslie's going to talk a lot about masterminds and cohorts and pre-accelerators and all these things we do that are orchestrating experiences that are uniquely designed to engage and onboard women entrepreneurs in ways that work best for them. The third thing I've learned is the upskilling. We specifically focus our program on those 4M barriers, the money, mentorship, markets, and management, the kinds of skills that people need in order to be successful. All of our programs are aligned to overcome one or more of those access barriers that get in the way. And then the last thing is, we have to really think about when people start businesses, it's not up to us to judge whether they're a side hustle, whether they're a high growth business. If you serve along the continuum from lifestyle to sidepreneur to emerging growth to high growth, you will get quality across the continuum, but you can't cherry pick in the continuum and say, I'm only going to serve this group within this larger segment. And that's been a huge epiphany for me, is to really learn that if we serve the continuum and we serve them well, we'll create more opportunities for these businesses to be successful. And oftentimes the entrepreneur doesn't know what they're capable of. They don't know. They don't wake up and say, I want to start a 500-person business. They don't wake up saying, I want to be Steve Jobs. Right? They wake up saying, I want to make a difference. I am passionate about something. And if we serve them along the continuum, we're going to have much better and more effective outcomes. And so to me, that was a big lesson that I've learned in the support that the Innovation Center as a host to our women's program has had over the last 6 years. And so I know that's a kind of quick orientation to kind of the business case for what we do. And I want to turn it over to Leslie to kind of talk in detail about how we do it, what we're learning, and where we see things going in the future. So Leslie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Leslie, you're muted. Are you struggling with that? Okay. Christine, you have control. Could you please? There.
Oh, it worked. It just likes to take a minute.
It does.
It wants to just make sure we're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And please feel free to ask any questions while we're going through this. I am basically going to support a lot of what Karl said with more examples and actual tangible takeaways from our clients. So our center is the WEOC Women's Business Center. Now, I will say that there are probably many different women's business centers all over the country that may or may not be funded by the SBA. Our program is. We are one of 150 programs across the United States. There are only 2 in Indiana. The other one is in Indianapolis, and we are, the second. The WEOC originally stood for the Women's Entrepreneurial Opportunity Center. And for the first 2 years, we really pushed to help people understand what we offer, because just like Karl was saying, it was different from being an incubator to going to one-on-one coaching and the different demographics we were serving. So we really wanted to reinforce that we support and we advance women business builders. I will say that we offer coaching to everyone, but our grant for the Women's Business Center is definitely more geared. It requires us to gear towards women, and that is at least 98% of our clientele are women. Now, the way we offer our services, I said we offer one-on-one coaching, but we do more than that. And Karl kind of mentioned this. So the one-on-one coaching is where they can come in after the second time that we meet with them. It's $10 a visit. This allows them to get a feel for me as a coach, for maybe one of our other coaches, see if the structure is going to be okay, if we really click, because there are a lot of opportunities out there to get help. They may not know about them, but at least this is a start. So by that second or third time, they really understand what the relationship is going to be, and they know they're going to be held accountable. They know they're going to be supported. We talk about everything you can think of, from budgeting to who's the target market to how to create a content calendar to finances. We can build pitch decks. It's literally anything that would go into business coaching, but it is just in a one-on-one connection. Then when we move over to this group coaching concept, we have the 2 options. Within this, we have a mastermind and an accelerator. And I believe later in the program, I'll get into even more detail about that. With the third option that they can interact with us with is this is a monthly workshop, or myself or another WEOC staff member, we go out within the community and we do presentations. And it has to do with anything that revolves around business building. I see that there might be a question. And I don't know if you would all mind if I go ahead and answer this right now, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. It says, how does a woman-owned business get in contact and schedule a coaching session? That's a great question, because we've changed the way we've done this over the last 3 years. And we kind of just have to figure out what works for everyone best. And with COVID happening, what we decided works the best for us and takes the least amount of time is we set up a Calendly link. So that is C-A-L-N-D, L-Y, Calendly link. And this way, what happens is you would go to our website. I can probably jump out of this. And you go to our website and it has the, let's see if we can go back, the Apply Now button. So a potential client would contact us by just putting in their basic contact information right here. And we use FormStack for this. We even have FormStack set up so that it filters right into our Salesforce. And that is heavenly, because that, again, requires less data entry for all of us. So they give us their information. we contact them. And at that point in time is when we say, thank you for your interest. When would you like to meet? I'm going to give you the Calendly link for the coach. And typically that's me. And so then they can easily set up a time that works for them. On my calendar, it only has the times I'm available that I am able to coach. So they know when they can jump on my calendar and when they can't. And that has honestly been a godsend. It takes a lot less time to do this. Let's see. Oh, good. Yes, Calendly is right in there. Thank you, Diane, for putting that in there. Okay, so now I can keep moving. I want. Oh, it's going to keep taking me to the website. Sorry. Just want to grow. Okay, so the workshops, and every director is going to be different. I have a really hard time with not teaching. So all of our workshops are very meaty. By the time they leave, they have action items. I follow up with them. Have you tried this? I really want them to stay connected to the organization as well as to each other. So everyone agrees at the time of the workshop, do you all want to share your contact information? And so at the end, then they can all communicate with each other. We don't just stop at those 3 opportunities to work with us. We make sure that what's on the slide is how we are supporting them in every touch point that we have with them. So the very first one, when we pulled our clients, was, I love that you give me structure. And I don't necessarily know if it's structure or just the know-how, but I use their wording. So they want the tools. They really, honestly, what they want is this perfect package that is going to give them success. And so if we use the NIIC Navigator that the NIIC has created, which is online webinars, if we use our Wendy Kennedy tools that we use for coaching, all of this is like something tangible to them so that they feel like it's not just talking to a friend or a counselor, that there is a legitimacy to what we're providing. So structure, accountability, I can't even see what I have here. Safety. This is huge because we get very transparent. Confidence. A lot of the time, they just need to work through mindset. Experience. The fact that we have all been business owners, that I've created webinars for my own business. Sarah, our other coach, she can get in the back end of her Shopify and show people how to use it. So all of that is so important to them too. And then the connection with each other. It's not just connecting like you would at a regular networking event where you go, you kind of remember somebody's name. Usually there's a clique standing somewhere and you can't figure out how to break into the group. This is where it's very transparent. Everyone is willing to be vulnerable, and that is really what meshes and creates our WEOC community. So let's see here. A few of our clients are here. So Uniquely Creations. When we talk about how some of our clients have responded to the pandemic, we have definitely had a lot who have struggled. And this is obviously going to be normal. All of us have. We need to make sure that we give the proper support to them and not just keep saying, push, 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 push. You can do this. You can do this. We have to make sure that we listen to them. If they are just overwhelmed and that's all they want to talk to me about in that meeting, that's all we talk to them. Because if they don't get that out, we're never going to get to that next step of where they are back in the swing of things. They're making revenue, their head's back in the game. So a couple examples of this are Uniquely Creations, where she took COVID and didn't just stop at her blinged mugs and really cute bedazzled shoes and these kind of things. She ended up doing a lot more. So where people didn't want to touch things because of COVID, they were afraid of that. She made new product specifically geared toward keeping yourself safe. One of those products was the door holders. So these kind of key rings, you can clip that around a door handle and open it. So she blinged these out. Another example is at the gas station pump, where you're going to put your card in. A lot of her demographic have really long nails. And so it would prevent them from getting the card into the card reader very easily. So she created a very blinged out clip that you could easily push your card in and out. And again, you didn't have to touch anything. And these two pieces for her blew out. So wonderful. Another item was a journal, because she was encouraging people through her Facebook page and all of her social media to connect, to document what we were going through COVID, to have this as not only memories, but to work through the struggle as we were going. Then you'll see burned in teacher. I don't even need a graphic for her, because as you can imagine, teachers are extremely burned out. And Amber started, she was a teacher for 12 years. She started this 3 years ago. And until this year, she didn't have the momentum that she could find. You know, teachers are not very excited to spend a few more minutes trying to work on an assignment for someone else. And obviously that makes a ton of sense. But what happened with COVID is the principals were a lot more likely to hire her to come in and talk to their teachers, fill them back up. So she's now getting revenue from the schools without it being from the direct end user, which would be the teacher. So that was a huge plus for her. Flourish and flounce down here, this is tablescapes. And as you all know, I'm sure you experienced it too, since we were Zooming from our home or working from our homes, we started to realize all the things that drove us nuts about our homes. We couldn't just leave and go to our office. So her product, hopefully it comes up here. Yes, her product are some of these tablescapes. And it made people happy. So she tripled her revenue just because people were in their homes and they wanted to feel good while they were there. So though we've had a lot of struggles with COVID, we've had a large number of clients who have actually flourished because of this. There were definitely pivoting moments, and they would have to navigate supply chain disruptions and these kind of things, but they were still able to grow. When we think about connecting with our clients, I can't say that I know what male clients need. I can say that I grew up in a household where my father was an entrepreneur. He started his business when he was 19. He just recently sold it after 40 some years. So I do know that watching my dad navigate things is very different from how my WEOC clients navigate them. They want to talk these things through. They want to ask each other, this happened. How are you dealing with that? I have this horrible client. I can't figure out how to ask them for the money. Everybody else chimes in, and it's a true community. And every time we poll them, that is the first thing that they mention, liking the most about our programs, is having this access to other people who are doing it as well. I think that if we could get more men in these groups to be as transparent as our women, they would like it even more. We do have a couple masterminds where we have a few men in the masterminds. And those men, one of our gentlemen was just a very transparent person to begin with. And the other was a very hard nut to crack. He didn't want to share any of his revenue goals. He didn't want to talk about any of his current or his actuals. And I feel like we broke him down really well. And the whole group merged and they all started hiring. Prior to that, they weren't quite in the mindset. They really needed to gel. So Carter says, how do you keep women accountable to showing up? Is attendance an issue? I have never had attendance as an issue. And I probably should say that I have never had attendance as an issue with my cohorts. When it is the one-on-one clients, I do see people rescheduling more often. But with my cohorts, they know it's on the same day, the same time, every week. And it's rare. If they don't show up, they want to know what happened. They ask me, they reach out, what did you guys talk about? What do I need to do? So it has not been an issue for me. Let's see here. Along with the same lines of creating that camaraderie and the true tight-knit community is I started a WEOC community page. This was started before I got here, but just wasn't quite yet doing much. So I think when I started, we had maybe 40 people in the group. And now just within the last 2 years, we've had, the increase to 344. What we offer here is a live session every single week. So every Thursday we have a theme. The first Thursday of the month is a mentoring moment. And this is where I incorporate more men as the mentors. My men come in and they don't think restrictedly like my women do. So whereas a woman may think, so if you think the blinged Uniquely Creations, if she were to come in and say, well, I think I could start selling these things, I would say, okay, where do you want to be placed? Do you want to just have your own e-commerce site? Do you want to be on Etsy? Do you want to be in stores? Do you want to be in a retailer? And we would walk through that. My men would say, okay, so I know I need to go get an investor. I already got a loan and I already am working on my supply chain. It's not just going to be me working. I'm going to have, within the first, I already took out the loan. So I'm going to have 6 employees this first year and we're going to grow to this. And it doesn't matter if they're black, white, brown, orange, it's just a whole different way of thinking. So when I show men in my WEOC community group during my first Thursdays, which is that mentor moments, I have had so many of the clients reach out and say, it was so great to hear they don't have any fear. Now they may, but they don't convey that. It's not their original go-to. They don't let it hold them back. And so that's been a really key thing in that group. The second one is an on-air coaching. This is a way for me to recruit people, potential clients into this WEOC community, and then show them what a coaching call is like. So this is where I'm just going to walk a client straight through. What are your struggles today? What would you like to talk about? Okay, maybe it's LinkedIn. Let's go to LinkedIn. Let's figure out how to use it. And then everyone there can see it. The third Thursday is the Therapy Thursday. And we joke, it's like your meltdown day. And this is where we've partnered, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but we've partnered with the Society of Black Mental Health Professionals to give a little bit of therapy around struggles that you might be having in your business. And then the fourth Thursday is a Q&A. So I will have a CPA or an attorney, or, January I had an organizer on there. And so I present 4 questions to them. They answer the questions. And that way everyone can get some of their expertise. So 344 people can get some expertise at the time that is able for them to watch the group. All right. So far, does anyone have any questions?
I think that you've answered the ones that have been posted so far, so thank you. One of the things that you and I had talked about is there have been different articles about mompreneurs. So what have you found has really been helpful with that particular subsegment?
Yes, I really liked that you asked this question, because in the middle of Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the middle of the Midwest, the majority of our women are moms. Like Karl touched on, typically our female business builders don't start a business until they're closer to 50 and above. So by that time, they've had a few kids. So I will explain a little bit about how we welcome them. Where Karl said we meet them where they're at. It's literally what we do. So we talk about kids a lot. So this is one post that I shared last February during Black History Month, is little girls, because this is often the why behind why our clients start businesses, is their kids. How do they support them right now, and what do they leave to them, and how do they teach them to self-sustain? So there are a lot of that. I show my own kids. I show pictures of me holding my clients' kids. I want them to know that I get it. I am a mom. I know the struggle. I know the juggling of a job, a business, mom, wife, daughter, all the things. And it's hard. And I want them to be able to see that I don't just say that I get it. Like I said, I let them bring their kids in. Now there is something to the fact that you can't just let them roam the hallways. We don't know who's here. But we entertain them. I have a bouncy chair in our main meeting room. I have puzzles and coloring books and you name it, so that they can be incorporated, or they have something to do while they're here. And it's not just one more thing for the parent to think, oh, I can't listen. When we host an event, I ask the room right away, if there is a mother who needs to breastfeed, is anyone going to be uncomfortable with her breastfeeding here? And I tell her that where she can go to breastfeed, so that she knows, yes, again, we all get it. We're all moms. You know what? If the baby starts crying, half the time, one or two of the other ladies that are attending the event just go over and pick her up. And the other aspect for mompreneurs is connecting them through that transparency. We can't act like we have it all together. One of my personal favorite podcasts, business podcasts, is called Biz Chicks. And I love it because of the fact that in her introduction, she says all the many roles that she has. And she says, I get help with all of them. So by connecting everyone through this transparency, they can talk about, okay, you know what? I just need somebody to clean my house and to file for me. Hey, you know what? I need somebody to do my social media. And so they can start to even talk about who they might be able to hire, who they could share to get some of these things done. And with this, building their goals, we incorporate their family goals in there as well, because their business goals are never going to get off the ground if they don't talk about how they're going to get their kids off the bus, if they have to go from job number one to working on their business and get the kids somewhere. Like, it will keep them from moving at all. So we incorporate all of this into goal setting.
So you've talked about the growth of women entrepreneurs, and we've seen that the the rates of loans and whatnot are very different. Can you talk about the financial challenges that you've seen with the women that you've served?
Absolutely. Yes. It is a lot of that chicken before the egg. Which one comes first, really? Because if you realize, going back to some of the statistics that Karl shared, if 46% or more, like that's the least, hire 0 to 5 employees, most of them are not going to be eligible for a loan because and the fact that they're passion and service based, they probably don't have big equipment that they can borrow against. There's nothing as tangible if you're a service-based business, especially technology-based. Their spouse is often completely against accruing any kind of debt in the name of their business. So where we may be able to go and say, okay, we're going to take out, a second mortgage or something to help get us just on this on-ramp. Their spouse will say, absolutely not. We are not going to do that. The chicken before the egg for investors, they want to see traction. But many of our clients are averse to sales, which I can already read your mind because it's all the time across mine. If you're not going to be able to sell, then you're not going to stay alive, which is why we collaborate with a sales organization, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But that means they can't get investor dollars very easily because they can't get traction very quickly because they don't have money to put in from at the beginning. So they tend to use their personal savings, any that they can use without their husband feeling it, or they take out a 0% interest credit card, and that way it goes under the radar. Their husbands may not know, their spouses may not know. They can pay little by little off on this credit card without any interest. That's what I see the most. And when Karl mentioned credit scores and things like this, I believe that women are 23 points lower on average for their credit scores than men. And even then, an average male's credit score is not typically above 650. It's going to be lower than 700. So if that's the case, then we have that much, we're starting out already below the level of even competing with a male on who's going to get the money. And then our networks are smaller. We just, as a species, haven't been in the workforce as long. We haven't been doing the networking as long. So unless you are starting networking from the time that, if we think of the mompreneurs, the time that their kids go to school and they can build upon this over the years, and then they start a business and now they have a network, it's not there, it's not established, it's shorter term relationships. So it's already starting down below where just a typical male would start. This is why Kiva has been fantastic for many of our clients. And that, again, is the organization that has 0% loans. And this is for the unbankable, the people who have the credit scores that are low. And then we have bankable, we work very closely with, and they provide microloans a little bit larger than Kiva. You have Kickstarter, and that's where you can, get crowdfunded. And then our accelerator actually provides, if it's a woman in tech, that's what our accelerator is focused on because it's hardest for them to get any kind of funding. So we give them, depending on the year, $1,000 to $2,500 to help start their business. And that's a year-long program that they have to work through. So we know what they're going to spend it on. We can help make their decisions more smartly with them.
So we've talked mentoring a bit. I'd love to know kind of how you've mentored clients and how you secure the mentors that are interested in working with other women entrepreneurs.
Great. This has been an up and down road for us. So mentorship, as I'm sure we all know, that if you mentor, you're more likely to succeed. So mentees are 40% more likely to get a promotion in a company, and mentors are 50% more likely to get a promotion. How that equates to a small business is a small business owner who's getting mentorship or has a business coach, they're 70% more likely to survive 5+ years. That's a big difference. I think our hurdle is trying to make sure they know we're here to give them some coaching and mentorship. Something we may not have even thought about was, I started working, I still feel like I'm really young in my career. I started working in 2000 in the actual business world. And at that time, I had never heard any person ever talk about a mentor in the business world. It's not something that's even in females' repertoire, our vocabulary. It just hasn't been there until the last few years. So considering that, how do we meet them where they are? It goes back to, again, let's pair up men and women, and we have to do training on male allyship, what a proper relationship looks like, just putting out all of the elephants in the room and talking about them. No, just because it's a male and a female does not mean that they're going to have a sexual relationship. It can be, if you're worried about that, keep the door open, these kind of things. There's a way to work through these things. But unless we have male allyships, we are not going to see the growth because there just aren't as many women giving a hand up. They just aren't there yet. Women to women is crucial because they have someone they can be completely transparent with. So you need a good mix there. This is where the masterminds come in. And again, complete and honorable vulnerability and transparency in all of these relationships is so important. I found this that said, when men are deliberately engaged in gender inclusion programs, 96% of organizations see progress. So I would love to keep providing this to our women's business centers. And this is a good example. I had been providing a podcast since 2018. And I would only interview women so that we could see women in these leadership roles in successful businesses, and we could learn from them. They were not willing to be transparent. And it's because they weren't connected to our group, really. They would come in and they wanted to advertise their business, but they weren't really willing to say, hey, I fell flat on my face at this point. I didn't know how to get up. They were unwilling to do that. Whereas I switched what I'm doing, and it's no longer just a podcast. This is where we're doing it within our WEOC community. So we're all talking all the time. And I'm having more men come. And Jason from Rocket Build, he was fully transparent. It was fantastic. He said, I screwed up right here and I didn't know what to do about this. And with gender inclusivity and diversity, I don't know what I'm doing and I need some help. And I just got pages and pages of comments. This was fantastic. He made me think bigger because he was talking about raising funds and all of these things. So just making sure we give just some insight and vulnerability is so important. So the way it looks for us, our first attempt before I was here, but I was a part of this program, which is pretty funny, Mentoring Women's Network. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but you can go on kind of like SCORE's website. You can see the bios of people you pay to be included in this program. You can see the bios, you can see what you want help with, and then you can click. You get 4 sessions a year with a mentor. For whatever reason, it really wasn't developed enough quite yet. They were a fledgling organization. It just needed a little bit more time to get their feet under them. And so when I started, we decided to move away from that. And so what we're doing right now is I'm having people come into that WEOC private Facebook group. I'm connecting them to my personal network. Okay, you need help with this. Let me connect you to this person. I make the email introduction. I make sure that my network stays secure. I'm out in the community all the time. I am making sure I stay on little Zoom meetups with people in the community just to keep my face out there so that we have this lineup of mentors that we can be using. And then guest appearances. In my mastermind and the Launch Women's Business Builder, we have them jump in there as well. But what we hope to do and what we're talking about right now with the other coaches is having more of an organized system. And I don't know if this is a way that we can better partner with SCORE to help them recruit more business owners so that they do all the training on them. We just get to go. It's kind of a win-win for both of us. So we're working through all that to decide whether it's good for us to keep all of this in-house or not.
Okay, I think that this is probably going to be one of our last because we're bumping up on 4 o'clock. So can you talk about any special programming that you developed? It sounds, you're utilizing a number of programs like Wendy Kennedy and Masterminds, but if there's anything that you've developed in-house, that'd be great to learn about.
Yes. Again, we offer the 3 ways to work with us. It is the mastermind and the accelerator. All of this came from, we developed all the curriculum. So we have the NIIC Navigator. We use the NIIC Navigator a lot in the first 6 months of the accelerator. And I think the key thing to all of this is offering that safe space, that structure that comes with the program, the accountability and that connection, and the strategic partnerships, which is part of this training. So Sandler Sales Training has been a phenomenal collaboration. They teach the clients how to sell. Then we work with a Dare to Lead facilitator so that she can break down any money mindset problems that they're having so they actually can sell. Work with Bankable and the Society of Black Mental Health Professionals, again, to break down any mindset issues they may have. And if we were to just talk about success, it would go back to these 3 key things.
Okay. Well,
which
I would
welcoming them, meeting.
Go ahead, Leslie. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Just welcoming, meeting them where they are, providing this connection, even in a virtual landscape that we're in right now, and really working on mindset. It is a lot of that we need to offer to women.
Okay. Well, thank you so much to both Karl and Leslie for the wonderful presentation. Great information about a really impactful program. And all of us with Glenn would like to invite you to participate in our next webinar. It's going to be highlighting the small business stabilization funding. It's going to be talk about progress and lessons learned. Lamont Mackley, who's the Chief Inclusion and Outreach Officer for Jumpstart, is going to talk about the fund that they created in the Cleveland area as a response to the COVID crisis. And this fund was supported by Jumpstart, Key Bank, and a number of other organizations. And they'll, talk to us about some of their lessons learned and how they've, what kind of impact that they've been able to have. And also we have a quick reminder that the 2021 Glenn Summit is going to be October 20th to 22nd. We're going to host that at the Radisson Hotel in downtown Toledo. The 20th is going to have a welcome reception, and then we'll have 2 days of content on the 21st and 22nd. You'll be able to interact and network with different entrepreneurial support professionals working in incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, maker spaces, SBDCs, universities, and more. So please watch your email for additional information. And on behalf of the Great Lakes International Innovation Network, Bon Secours Mercy Health, the Ohio Third Frontier, we really appreciate you attending today's session. Thank you so much, and stay safe, everyone.